don't try to do this every night, but I just wanted to record a daily gapper, the play of the day type of a deal for Monday, September or February 22nd. We're gonna be going over Ctxr. This was the actual leading gapper with 146 million shares traded, and there's 74 million shares. So that's more than the amount of shares available. So this was easily going to be looked at by a lot of people. But yeah, I just want to do some chart analysis, what it would have looked like this morning if we would have gone into it and stared at it. And yeah, so from a further zoomed out chart, you could probably try to draw out some trend lines through here, but that's not going to be effective because it's already gapping way above there. You wouldn't want to see it come back all the way back down here. So we'll come in a little bit closer, and oh, you know what, actually let's look at this resistance line here first. So the first thing I'm looking for is making sure that this thing is in an uptrend. Just from what we see, it faded early morning, but from around 5:30, 4:30, and beyond, it kind of came back up and collected itself at VWAP, which was bullish, and we like to see that. So I came in around 6 a.m. and I saw this chart, and I was began to show some interest. So I think it's important to draw some resistance lines. So we'll go out to the daily. I like to use the daily. If there's nothing on the daily, if it's making new highs, first of all, that's great. Secondly, we'll go to the 3-year week and try to see if we can draw anything out that is showing anything above 2.3s. Looks like there's a resistance here at 2.4, right? And then looks like there's going to be resistance all the way up here, probably around 313. 313 range is where it got denied very hard, and 249 a little less. That already broke through here actually, so we're just gonna go ahead and get rid of that. If my mouse will work, great. It's late, so I'm a bit tired, so just work with me here. All right, so now look. I love to keep this more spread out chart at the bottom, so I can just kind of see the overall trend. And so from this, I kind of just want to try to draw as big of a trend line as I can and slowly pull it into the shorter time frame. So here we can try to draw this one out at that bottom there. See, now that's a nice trend line there. We could try to get in closer up in here, draw out a trend line, but it looks like we're looks like we're just probably gonna get the same look of it. If it's early morning, 6 a.m., I'm probably looking at this level here. But this is a better trend line to draw. This one's more shorter term. It's just good to zoom out as far as you can and try to get the trend from the past day, or wherever it's noticeable. Wherever it's first noticeable that, hey, this could be a nice little trend line, draw them out. Okay, so now we're going to be looking a little bit closer. And since this stock is now reclaiming VWAP, we want to try to draw some potential resistance and support lines from this shorter time frame. So it looks like we're getting support around this area-ish, but that's the lower trend line. So we don't want it to break this trend line anyways. So anything above there would be nice to draw out. So it looks like maybe up in here it could be resistance. There could be a resistance. And then up here at the highs could be a resistance, just kind of a zone, just using it for reference. I want to go down to the 1 minute up here, just because this is looking like it's got the, it's been a really weak market, so trading the 1 minute is important, because you can see there's potential reversals that come pretty quickly in this market. So, alright, so let's zoom in a little bit. So now we've got a little bit of a better view. So now we can zoom in a little bit. By the way, all these things are going to be happening within minutes, and The one thing that I always say is that keeps me profitable is if you don't have time to figure out your risk to reward, um, the position size that you want to take, your price target, your stop, and the overall trend of the stock, and you can't draw out your resistance lines, trend lines, then the stock's not worth it. If you're just trying to get in for quick cash and stuff, maybe you take very small shares just to get in, but I find that to be a bad habit because a lot of the time stocks that don't take their time to develop and consolidate often will not follow through. So say you're buying a gapper um, going up and you're buying the momentum play, and you go for the high break or something and it hasn't consolidated, there's a very large chance that that'll come right back down into you and stop you out. So personally, I just like to play these plays where I can buy dips and yeah. So all right, let's go through this. So it opens up. I'm not going to be trading in the first 15 minutes. It all of a sudden gets a little spike up. Some buyers come back in, more than the selling, which is bullish, and then it sells right back off. And this is where I'm looking to enter because, as you can see here, it spikes, comes back down. There's an ABCD pattern, right? Very small, but still an ABCD pattern. So A, spike, B, sell off, C, consolidation, and then D is the taking of new highs. But as we can see, there was a lot of weakness in the market, so it wasn't able to break thickly through that high, and that's a very weak candle there. So it came back down and then pushed for a last time and then slowly fade off. So at this point, I see the pop. I was waiting for the pop and drop, and then it finds support at VWAP, which is great. So down here, we're looking for a hold on VWAP. First of all, this, even before that, this was great that this held this line, pushed back up, and bounced perfectly off of that. And that's drawn from the previous day. That's not, I didn't put that in there because I was there. Like, it just perfectly worked out that way. Pops up, drops back down, comes back and reconsolidates. A lot of the time, if you are very confident, you can buy on this first dip to VWAP. But I would like to see a larger consolidation and see a break above here. And so it comes down to VWAP again. And at this point, volume has settled, so it comes down hard and then pushes back into it, but it still has good volume through here, right? So we want to see a complete compression of volume before it makes the next move. So as we can see, right before it makes its next move, it's on below average volume. This is where you're like, okay, below average volume, this is good. That doesn't mean it's not holding volume. It just means that it's reconsolidating and letting the buyers. The buyers are basically saying, okay, are there still people selling? No, there's nobody selling left. Okay, I'll buy into this so that I'm not going to be hit with sellers, and then it's going to be hard to get up out of this range. So it pops back over, it gets buyers off of this candle, and then it breaks that little low right there. I'm going to buy the dip around here, around 256, right? And then it's going to pop back up. You want to see it break these levels. Your price target at this point is going to be, if you're conservative, it's going to be this high. So now you're scaling out 268 right here. Then this confirms your move, and this is a previous 272, 273 is a previous resistance. So you can kind of be like, okay, it's probably going to reverse right up here. And it does, it comes back down. At this point, since this reversed here, I can now draw a trend line on the shorter time frame, right? Draw these trend lines as much as you can. So it comes back down. You could even buy this dip for this is now the second pop, okay? So a lot of the times the best traders will sell into the second pop, right? It'll come up and then it'll reconsolidate. You might trim a little bit here, but you try to hold most for the second pop, and you want it to hold this trend line, perfectly holds it. At this point, you honestly don't need to wait for it to get above here. You just want to get it in this candle, right? So anywhere in here, 262 would have been perfect. It bounced off and got some volume back in, and then now your stop will be down below this line, 259-ish. You know, you want to see this pop straight out. It goes up 265, goes all the way up to 286, your target at this point is above these highs right here, above these highs, but you're just writing your shares from this first pop, and you want to try to see 294, doesn't get it, so now you're selling in here, right? And now by the time you're on your third pop, there might be a couple people trying to get it in here, but it's going to be, a lot of the times it could push and try to get those 313s, but it was such a weak market that it just turned around, and it should have gone, to be honest. But yeah, as you can see, it faded for the rest of the day. And when you're beginning trading, you're definitely going to see these patterns, something like this. You can be like, okay, well, maybe if I don't want to buy off that bottom dip, I can buy at the break of this resistance, right? You draw your resistance line, and then boom, you're in at 256. But yeah, that's basically what I saw in the shorter time frame. And then yeah, once it broke that, once it broke that trend line, then you're looking to potentially re-enter on, once it breaks that trend line, now you're looking at the lower trend line or previous supports. Like, see how it bounced it off these, like it's just, and came back up and consolidated at these levels. It's the importance of being able to look left, draw trend lines, support and resistance lines, having your price targets, your stops, and following your plan. And to trade this the way I just described it, it's a lot easier to go back and look at a chart, but it's a lot different when you're in the moment. It's a lot harder when you're in the moment. So if anyone saw what I saw, that's great. This is my take on it. And yeah, it's just, you have to be able to do these things very quickly. And that's the hard part, is being able to think with no mistakes, with pure logic, respecting the trend, respecting the tape, and just profiting from that. And all it takes really is having a clear-cut idea of what it looks like, by zooming out and being like, okay, this thing is trending up, it's curling a little bit before open, I'm going to look to get into this. Like, you just kind of will see these things over and over again, and then over time it'll just come second nature like that. So any advice to anyone starting trading, and maybe you've read a few books, maybe you got your education down, maybe you're learning, if you're still learning and you don't have any experience, get in the simulator and just get a feel for everything. And then once you finish your books and you feel like you have an understanding, maybe move $100, $500 into your account. Oh, I didn't even realize this is up. I didn't mean to do that. $500 in your account or something like that, and start trading with it. But if you're under 25K, stay in the simulator and until you get there, because you're going to be trading a lot differently when you're swing trading than when you're doing scalp trading like this. One last thing that I noticed on this chart, look at the volume. Look at the volume before it breaks out. Boom, pops up every single time. But this was high volume on the back end, so you don't want to see that. You want to see this kind of cheap volume, shit volume on the downside. That's what we look for. Like, you want to see that. And this is only so big because they tried to get buyers to push through this, but they couldn't do it. So it had to reconsolidate and wait for more buyers to come in. But yeah. And some last advice is, like, do some chart analysis every day. Like, find the leading gapper and then do chart analysis like I'm doing right now. It's so helpful to just keep your mind in check with what to see and what to do. So yeah. All right. You guys all have a good night. If anyone's watching this, this is some really good stuff, and yeah.